fight, cause we had trust. Now it's drowning in our lives. I know we're broken up, you know the feelings deep inside. So what? You, what we've been through, I miss you. And you can't lie, you miss me too. If I roll through, but you.
In today's video, we're going to be talking a little bit about Aaliyah's last album, or a lot of it. So without further more to say, like, comment, and subscribe, turn on your bell post notifications so that you'll be notified every time I drop a video. Let's get into today's video. I'm going to run over all the songs on her last album because I think I finally figured out what her last album is about. I mean, I always had a clue, but I've came to the conclusion that this is exactly what it was about. So, what was her last album about? To me, I think that her last album was reflected around Damon, Jay-Z, and just people who were quite jealous. And I think that her Red album really reflected what was going on in current time. Around 2000, 2001, even 1999, I believe she turned it into an album. So before I get more into explaining, I'm on the lyrics for Read Between the Lines by Aaliyah, and this particular part stood out to me, and I think most of her songs on this album is most certainly about Jay-Z and their relationship and what he put her through from 1999 to 2001, and I want to share it with you guys. So on this part, she just said, your replies are getting old, it's in his eyes, gotta read between the lines, your lies are getting told. His lies are getting told. And y'all remember when I told y'all that I feel like she was exposing her relationship with Jay-Z and her just being tired of him being a cheater and not respecting her existence. And in this song, she basically just said, your lies are getting told. And I feel like this is towards Jay-Z because logically, around that time, she wasn't really going through anything with anybody else like that. I mean, we wouldn't know. If you really look at it, the only person she seemed to be annoyed with is Jay-Z. I feel like this is what a lot of her songs reflect. And around the time, like 2000, 2001, It was really odd because a lot of people had begun to think her and Jay-Z were dating. They even started asking her questions about it and making silly jokes. And Carson Daly, he made one of the silly jokes and he was like, I thought you were going to bring out Jay-Z. I felt like she was willing to give him a chance only if he fully committed to her and not have been cheating. We're going to just say allegedly because this is just something I believe, but not everyone's going to believe this. So for y'all's sake, I'm just going to say allegedly. But I feel like he was cheating and he didn't have her best interest anyway. She wasn't really interested. She didn't really take him serious for him to even be trying to cheat. He wasn't very pleasing to her. I feel like a lot of people, they started connecting her to his name and she had to clear that up. She got tired of it and she's just like, Jay and I are friends. And then eventually she ended up, you know, although she did not write these songs, we all know that, she chose these songs in particular to, I feel, represent her frustrations. And I already told you guys that a red album basically means this word right here. Extreme emotions that were evoked by unhealthy romantic relationships, intense love, intense frustration, jealousy, confusion. This is exactly what it's giving for Aaliyah's last album. And I feel like she decided to put the rumors to rest, all the questions that they were asking her about Jay-Z, and the questions they began to ask her about Damon. And she put it in a song, you know? She basically told us what was going on in her life. She spoke a little bit about her and Jay-Z's relationship and what he put her through. She also spoke about, you know, not necessarily being in a relationship, but being that girl that was on the side, which was with Damon. Because like I said, Rachel Roy was #1 and she probably knew that and she decided to be okay with that. So at the time, basically she was Damon's second, you know, she was the side chick. But because Aaliyah had a title, they took it public. You know, it was just going to be for a power status and to rise, right? Just to be, you know, that power couple that most people are today. But it wasn't really all about one type of relationship. I believe that she was on the side. You know, he has so many kids anyways. It was just a lot. I think she told us everything but the people back then were asking. She answered everyone's questions, and I believe that they knew that, and that's why everybody's seen it as gold, because all the questions basically got answered. No, she wasn't in a relationship when she passed away. It was more of a friends with benefits type situation with her and Damon, and her basically being on the side and not necessarily being a #1 girl. And then she also talks about people who were hating on her. It was said that at some time, I don't remember when, but Larice dissed her. It was just so many people dissing her. Eminem dissed her. Somebody else. It was a guy, I believe, who dissed her. I forgot what his name was, but basically, allegedly, he said that it was just one less bee in a Rocawear coat. Whoever that dude was. So many people were just dissing her. She was talking about it, and she called it loose rap. You know, if you really look at her music, it really defines what she was going through in her time with certain people. The person that was giving her the most hate or the most jealousy, the most envy was Jay-Z and Beyonce. The people who were like dissing her, like she said, she didn't really care. She probably didn't pay too much attention to it because it was just loose rap. And why pay attention to something when you're so successful? In the beginning of this video, I already put what We Need a Resolution means, loose rap, never no more, and I think she was explaining I Care For You, which we're not going to be talking about I Care For You and It's Whatever, because I feel like those songs basically describe where she was at peacefully. We're just going to be talking about You Need a Resolution, loose rap, More Than a Woman, Never No More, Read Between the Lines, You Got Nerve, I Refuse, Those Were the Days, What If, and Try Again. Now, all of these songs, it could be about multiple guys, but I feel like it reflected more on Jay-Z. Read Between the Lines. She's literally telling you to read between the lines. I feel like that's like the song that's telling you, like, you know, you got to read between the lines and put together the pieces. And you'll have your answers right here. Read between the lines, she said, your lies are getting told. I feel like Jay-Z was a liar. He was a cheater. He wasn't appreciating her, you know, and she was very beautiful to have been seen out with him. So for her to be giving him a chance and him to be doing her dirty, you know, and I feel like she had enough. And she dedicated this whole album to an unhealthy romantic relationship that she was experiencing with Jay-Z. She was giving him the opportunity, but he wasn't cherishing it. And we talked about this in the last video. She was basically a pawn to him, and he was trying to use her for his advantage. But not only did she want that, she wanted more, especially from him being something she wasn't even really interested in. If it wasn't for him trying with her, they probably wouldn't have went that far. But because he tried, she decided to give him a chance, although he was less than pleasing. You know, he was basically failing her. The intense love, intense frustrations would be with her and Jay-Z. Jealousy, Beyonce, Larice, Brandy, everybody who was dissing her, hating on her basically. And it could have just been too that Jay-Z was jealous, you know, that she was beautiful, attractive, and what if, we'll get to that later, but she was basically talking about in that song, of course I'm attractive, so they're gonna want to take my hand and lead me off around the corner, maybe to their place. But when you do it, when women come up to you, you kiss them, you talk to them, giving them the time of the day. But when I do it, you yelling all up in my face. That's basically what that song is. I feel like that's the vibe of Jay-Z. It was just like a jealousy thing with him too. Confusion, she was confused, you know, like when she would try to do it or, you know, be ruthless to him, it was a problem. But when he did it, he expected her to be okay with it, right? That's probably where the confusion came from, and the confusion of them falling out too. She was so confused. They were good and friends. They weren't even dating for him to be acting like that. That's probably where the confusion comes in at, and that was just, I feel, one of her most unhealthy relationships. And a lot of people say that this album's about Robert, and I have to disagree with you big time, 100%. I would never believe that that is about Robert. I feel like One in a Million could have been dedicated to him, especially the one I gave my heart to. But I think she let that situation go a long time ago. She had grew up into Aaliyah. She grew up. She was over that situation. Why would she still be talking about it? You know, I feel like this reflects what was going on in that present time. And I heard that she was still talking to Robert around her One in a Million album. I don't know how true it is. There's no proof to back this up on the internet. There's no evidence or anything. I just heard it a long time ago, and I don't know if it's true or not, but anything is possible. This Red album was about what was going on in present time. That's what I believe it was about. And what was going on in the present time was her messing around with Damon, her messing around with Jay-Z, people hating on her, being jealous of her, not only her, but her crew. And this just fits with Beyonce too, because after Aaliyah passed away, Beyonce started working with everybody Aaliyah was working with. She literally went after Aaliyah's crew after Aaliyah was no longer here. So, you know, it was just a lot of people who she spoke about in this album, and I love it. I can't stress it enough. I love this album so much. So basically, we need a resolution. She talked about that in the beginning. I put her little quotes in the beginning of the video, but basically she was saying how it's about a relationship where, you know, they're trying to come to a resolution, resolve things, and at the end they don't really come to a resolution, which I think that was her and Jay-Z. She and him, they did not come to a resolution. They didn't resolve any of their problems that they probably had. Y'all already know Timbaland was like, get your act right or else we won't be speaking. I think that she did know what was going to happen to her, and she wasn't running, she wasn't afraid. And someone in the comments, they said that she basically sacrificed herself. And that was the best way to put it. I feel like she knew. She said, which one of us will be grieving in one of her songs. And I think she meant that quite literally. It wasn't gonna be him. You know, he was gonna grieve over the loss of her, but he would have multiple motives to want to end her, to silence her. She was speaking out about him in this album. she played him in front of his friends, in front of the media for Damon. And it was just so much that embarrassed him to where he would want to take her life. We need a resolution. I feel like her and Jay-Z didn't come to a resolution. I think that song could be pretty much about him. Loose rap, that could be about him, Beyonce, and multiple others hating on her. More Than a Woman, I actually feel like that could be about Damon. So we're not going to talk about that one. But Never No More, I feel like Jay-Z could have been not abusive to Aaliyah, but very rough. Like, you know how people get into an argument and the guy, he'll grab your arm. Kind of like what Damon did in this video, although I know it wasn't serious, he was just playing. But I feel like this is how Damon or Jay-Z could have been when him and Aaliyah got into arguments. And she's like, I thought I lost you when you twist back my arm, you know, and I promised myself you wouldn't put your hands on me again. I feel like he was very rough with her. And don't let the cameras fool you. He could have been lingering around Aaliyah looking like he just cherished this woman. And just with the stories talking about how he sent her flowers and was gifting her, that doesn't mean anything. What about the arguments that they got into? I'm pretty sure they got into arguments. And how would he react? He was probably verbal and very rough with her. Never No More could be about Jay-Z and his physical reactions to her when they got into arguments. Read Between the Lines, I definitely think is about Jay-Z. A lot of these songs, most of these songs talk about a man who's cheating, who's very rough, who's a liar, who's beginning to not please her anymore and becoming very ugly. She's talking about exposing this person, leaving this person, she won't be here. She doesn't care if that person left her alone because she would be happy. These songs, it gives Jay-Z pretty much. When you really listen to it over and over, you'll start to understand, like, these are definitely about a relationship that was occurring around the time she was making this, 2000. She started recording this album in 2000 when she was in Australia, and it would give her enough time to jot down everything that happened with her and Jay-Z, right? Because they met in 1999. And by that time, she probably already seen all she needed to see. So Read Between the Lines, yeah. But in Read Between the Lines, she's basically talking about how this guy is pacing back and forth in the room. He wakes up earlier than breakfast time and he's just acting like something's wrong. Like, is he pleasing someone else? He's mumbling. He's not giving an explanation as to why he's acting like that. There's no location. That's cheating vibes. Little conversation, leaving no debation. Like, basically someone who's got something going on but is trying to work around it. She's just like, what's going on, buddy? You know, why are you pacing back and forth? You're pleasing somebody else. Where are you going? What's the location, right? Then it says which one will be grieving, because she said, are you still pleasing? Well, soon you'll be leaving. Which one will be grieving? Of course he's gonna be grieving because he wants her. She didn't care for him. She didn't want him anyways, so like it wouldn't really hurt her anyways. I really want to get into this song like in a different video so I can really focus on the song itself and not just be all over the place. But if you read this song, yes, this is most certainly giving vibes of a relationship that was around 2000, 2001. It says your lies are getting told, your replies are getting old, it's in his eyes. You gotta read between the lines. Like, she's telling you. She wanted us to know from this album what it is and what it wasn't. And it's up to you to believe what she left us behind, right? Sorry for my thumb. You Got Nerve, I feel like basically talks about he got nerve doing what he's doing when he's like with one of the most prettiest girls. Like, she wasn't like that, don't get me wrong. She would give anybody a chance, but the fact that she gave him a chance without even having little interest in him, and him having the nerve to try to be this head honcho, sit on a pedestal and do what he wants to do and use her as a pawn, was unacceptable. You got the nerve. That's basically what that's about. And she's like, I don't even need you. I don't even want you. I'm just, you know, giving you opportunities. Chances on chances, right? I feel like that's what that is about. I Refuse is more of an song, like I said. I feel like that speaks about the relationship in a more The way what went on when they would argue, and she talks about this guy being self-centered, and she just doesn't want to surround her life around him and basically bow down to him, right? And do whatever he wants. And also in that song, she was like, okay, my phone is trying to die on me, but in I Refuse, she was like, it was your way or it was no way, and I couldn't live that way. Jay-Z was very controlling. That's how I felt it was. And she wasn't gonna play his little game. You see what he's doing to Beyonce? They're married, but he's a cheater. He's probably not even home. Every time Beyonce is in films, documentaries, you never see Jay-Z in those documentaries like that. Unless, you know, it just looks like a fake family video. You know what I'm saying? He's only there to show people that they're happy. They're not really happy. And Aaliyah's talking about this guy being very, basically what she's saying, it was our call. You know, they made calls together, they talked about it, and then it became his call and what he said. She said, I gave you my all and all. In this song, it's talking about how at first they were one, and of course she caused some problems, but he was causing the most problems, right? And it became this dude who was self-centered and wanted her to do what he said. And Aaliyah did not want to live like that. She did not want to be cornered off into this box. I feel like he wanted control over Aaliyah. And she wasn't finna live her life like that. And Damon wasn't that type of dude. Like, he didn't care to have control over her. He just wanted to have her for the publicity and more attention. Cool, like, she was probably okay with that. But Jay-Z wanted to marry that girl, control her, use her as a pawn, and at the same time love her, yet cheat on her. And she's just like, dude, you ain't all that. Those Were the Days talks about how they had good days together. They would walk through the park. She's talking about the good times that she had with this guy, how they used to hang out, and how he doesn't, you know, do the things he used to do for her. Maybe Jay-Z got to the point where he just stopped gifting her. He stopped giving her that attention because on both ends she was entertaining other people and it wasn't very stable. And with him, he was cheating. I don't think she was cheating on him, but she was just like, I have options. You ain't the only one, Jay. But he's like, I was just one of them girls, I was gonna get right back. It wasn't finna work like that with Aaliyah. She's basically talking about those were the days. They had good days, but you know, things just went left. He started acting different. What If it talks about this guy who was getting attention from other girls, and if it happened both ways, he would get mad. Women would come up to him, talk to him, he would kiss them, give them the time of day. But when dudes did it to her, this guy character she's talking about would get mad and start jumping all up in her face, basically verbally attacking her over something that he does. And it's just like, what if I did the same to you? You know, that's basically what she's saying in the song. I think Jay-Z was giving her a big headache. He was very frustrating. He was a leech. He was just a peasant. He just didn't leave her alone. And then Try Again. If I turn you down, would you try again? What would you do? I think a lot of these songs reflect Jay-Z and Aaliyah's relationship. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I will get into all of these songs and explain them and research the words that she decided to use within these songs, or whoever wrote it for her, because they knew her situation. And I will just make a whole video about each song. So stay tuned for that. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in my next video. Stay crazy. There's so much more I can say, but my phone's dying, so I'll be back.
Do you remember